Oberyn Martell has finally come to King's Landing and his brother Doran stead to treat with the crown, but Oberyn really wants revenge for the rape and murder of his sister Elia and her children at the hands of the Mountain, Sir Gregor Clegane, during Robert's Rebellion. Sansa is now married to Tyrion, but they still haven't had sex, so the marriage hasn't really been consummated, and now Joffrey and Margaery are about to have their wedding. And when Joff goes to eat that wedding pie in the middle of the wedding, he begins to choke and ends up dying to the delight of so many people. Burn in hell, Joffrey. Nobody likes you. Anyways, Cersei immediately accuses Tyrion of killing her son, the king, and Tyrion is imprisoned and to be put to trial, while Sansa actually is able to escape with Ser Dontos, the court fool, and brought to Littlefinger, who awaited Sansa on a ship just off the coast from King's Landing. And then Littlefinger had his men kill Ser Dontos because he wasn't really trustworthy. Then Jaime and Cersei have a heated discussion in front of Joff's dead body and all, and it gets super weird because then they like have sex, but Jaime kind of like forces himself on her, and it's really, really weird that they're having sex in front of the dead body of their illegitimate son, a product of their incest. Pepe hands. Jaime talks with Tyrion, and Tyrion assures Jaime of his innocence. So Jaime tries to talk to Cersei. She wants none of it and questions Jaime's loyalty. Then Jaime talks to Brienne and says, "You need to go find Sansa and keep her safe." And he gives Brienne a Valyrian steel sword and then assigns Podrick Payne, Tyrion's former squire, to be her new squire. So Tyrion's trial begins, and seeing that it's not really going well, Jaime goes to his father and has a private discussion, offering to leave the Kingsguard and rule Casterly Rock as Tywin always wanted him to if Tyrion was shown mercy and sent to the Night's Watch, which Tywin agrees to. Unfortunately, Shae took the stand in Tyrion's trial and falsely testified that Tyrion and Sansa had been conspiring to kill Joffrey, and that she knew about it because she was Sansa's handmaiden. Tyrion then lashes out at the people of King's Landing, and he says that he didn't kill Joffrey, but he wishes that he had, and that he wishes that he had enough poison to kill them all. He then refuses to be sentenced to death for a crime he didn't commit, so he chooses trial by combat. Unfortunately, he has a really hard time finding a champion to help him. Bronn says no because Cersei offered him a ton of money, and Jaime says no because he only has one hand. But then Oberyn Martell comes and offers to fight for Tyrion because Oberyn knows he'll be fighting Sir Gregor Clegane, which is why Oberyn came in the first place, and he can finally get the vengeance he so desires. So the moments come where Oberyn the Viper Martell is fighting the Mountain, and Oberyn clearly has the upper hand. He has a poison on his spear, and he's able to take down the Mountain. And then when he lets his guard down for just one moment, the Mountain grabs him by the head and squeezes so hard he crushes it like a watermelon. And Oberyn dies, and the Mountain lays there, barely hanging on because of the poison in his system. And Tyrion is then sentenced to death. But as Tyrion awaits his fate in the dungeons, Jaime comes to him and frees him from the dungeons and gets him into the secret tunnels under King's Landing. Tyrion sneaks into the Tower of the Hand, where he finds Shae in Tywin's bed, and he strangles her to death. Tyrion then finds his father and shoots him twice with a crossbow, killing the once great Tywin Lannister. Varys finds Tyrion and takes him to the harbor, where he escapes by ship, accompanied by Varys the Spider. Across the sea, Dany heads to Meereen, the last great slave city left. Upon arrival, the champion of Meereen comes out to fight for his city, but Daario Naharis makes very quick and easy work of him. Dany plans to free all the slaves just as she had in the previous cities where she visited. Grey Worm leads a group of Unsullied into Meereen, armed the slaves, and then crucified 163 of the slave masters, one for each of the slaves that had been crucified to scare Dany on her way to Meereen. A letter arrives from King's Landing for Jorah Mormont, pardoning him for his crimes because he was spying on Dany for the crown. And when Dany finds out, she exiles him for his betrayal. One of Dany's people ends up coming to her with a charred skeleton of a young girl, saying that Drogon burned and ate his daughter. And so Dany chained up her two smaller dragons in the catacombs, while Drogon had not returned and could be literally anywhere. Now Sansa, having left King's Landing with Littlefinger, ends up at the Vale, where she meets her aunt Lysa. And Lysa ends up beginning to have jealous fits of rage because she thinks Littlefinger loves Sansa the way he used to love Lysa's sister Catelyn. Lysa saw Peter actually kiss Sansa, and she almost pushed Sansa out the moon door to her death. But Littlefinger arrived and kind of talked her off the ledge. And then he said, "Lysa, the only woman I've ever loved is Catelyn," and then pushes Lysa out the moon door herself. Boom! Get it. Littlefinger just dealing out the damage. So then when you look at Arya and the Hound, who honestly should probably have their own spin-off show because they're dope, and we see them kill some bastards at the inn that had tortured Arya and her friends beforehand, and Arya reclaims her favorite sword needle. The Hound and Arya go to the Vale, but when they find out Lysa is dead, they kind of turn back, not knowing what to do. They encounter Brienne and Podrick, and Brienne tells the Hound to give Arya over so that she can protect her. But the Hound says, no way, you have Lannister armor and a Lannister sword. I'm not doing that. And so they fight. Brienne beats the Hound and throws him off a cliff, but Arya gets away and hides. Once Brienne and Pod leave, Arya comes back to find the Hound barely alive, and instead of killing him, she takes his money and leaves him for dead. Arya then goes and takes a boat to the city of Braavos. Now, lastly, we go to our friend Jon Snow at Castle Black. He's tried for having slept with a wildling woman, Ygritte, but because he reveals the wildlings' plans and knows their every move, he is let off and helps the men prepare to the dismay of Sir Alliser Thorne and his companions. Jon leads a group to go kill the mutineers at Craster's Keep, where Bran happens to be as a captive, and Jon meets Roose Bolton's man Locke, who is out hunting for Bran. They all storm Craster's Keep in order to kill the mutineers, and Locke tries to take Bran, but Bran wargs into Hodor and frees himself and then kills Locke. Bran wants to see Jon so bad, but Jojen says no, that's a terrible idea. Jon will stop us from going north, and so they slip away into the night as Jon and his crew burn down Craster's Keep. The wildlings then, soon thereafter, begin their assault on Castle Black. Jon, with his leadership, allows the Night's Watch to survive and actually fends off the wildlings relatively well. Ygritte had Jon in her sights but hesitated for a mere moment and was shot with an arrow by the young boy Ollie and died right there in Jon's arms. The wildlings are forced to retreat, and the Night's Watch is able to capture Tormund Giantsbane in the midst of the fight. Jon then travels north beyond the wall to kill Mance Rayder once and for all, but as they were talking, Stannis and Sir Davos arrive with an army and Mance surrenders. Now further north, Bran and company are attacked by a group of the undead, and Jojen is killed. But a child of the forest comes to Hodor, Bran, and Mira and saves them from the undead and takes them under the large heart tree and introduces Bran to a man who says that he will never walk again, but he will indeed fly. And that man is the Three-Eyed Raven.
The Hashtag Dork Podcast.